पण किंग्स अँड किंगडम्सच्या क्लास 7 च हिस्ट्री चॅप्टरचं नोट्स, शॉर्ट नोट्स बघतो आहे. किंग्स अँड किंगडम्स चॅप्टर मध्ये काय सांगितलं की 7 to 12 सेंचुरी मध्ये मेनी न्यू डायनेस्टीज इमर्ज. 7 to 12 सेंचुरी मध्ये विच वर द बिग डायनेस्टीज? पलाज होते बेंगॉलमध्ये, गुर्जरा प्रतिहारा राजस्थान, राष्ट्रकुटा डेक्कन रिजन मध्ये आणि चोलास तामिळनाडूमध्ये. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दॅट चालुक्या वगैरे पण होते. सो पालास बेंगॉलमध्ये, गुर्जरा प्रतिहारा राजस्थान, राष्ट्रकुटा डेक्कन, चोलास तामिळनाडू. समंता ना, शॉर्ट नोट ऑफ समंता विचारली तर वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारे विचारू शकतात. फक्त डेफिनेशन विचारली तर फक्त राहायचं की दे वेर द बिग लँडलॉर्ड्स और वॉरियर चीफ हु ऍक्टेड एज अ सबऑर्डिनेट्स और समंतास टू किंग. दे ब्रिंग द गिफ्ट टू द किंग अँड प्रोव्हाइडेड द मिलिटरी सपोर्ट. पॉइंट मध्ये लिहायचं असेल शॉर्ट नोट, समांताज वेर बिग लँडलॉर्ड और वॉरियर चिफ्स. Kings acknowledged them as subordinates or samantas. They brought gifts to king. They attended the court of the king and they provided the military support. So what were the three things they do? They gave the gift to the kings. They attended the courts of the king and they provided the military support to the king. But then what happened when they become powerful? They called themselves as Mahasamanta or Mahamandaleshwara. Okay, Mahasamanta or Mahamandaleshwara. They declared independence from the king. So once they started becoming powerful, they declared independence from the kings. So त्याचे एक्झाम्पल काय आहे? राष्ट्रकुटा डिक्लेअर इंडिपेंडन्स फ्रॉम द चालुक्य किंग. राष्ट्रकुटा जे सामंत होते दे डिक्लेअर देअर इंडिपेंडन्स फ्रॉम द चालुक्य किंग. नेक्स्ट आहे दंती दुर्गा ऑफ राष्ट्रकुटा परफॉर्म्ड Hiranyagarbha golden womb ritual to declare himself Kshatriya. Means he was not Kshatriya earlier. So he performed the Hiranyagarbha ritual and he declared himself as a Kshatriya. Kings of those times, they declared themselves as a Maharaja, Adhiraja kiva Tribhuvana Chakravarti. So they called themselves as Maharaja, Adhiraja kiva Tribhuvan Chakravarti. For administration purpose, kings shared power with samantas, peasants, traders and brahmins. सो त्याला राजाला एकट्याला सगळं बघणं शक्य होतं का त्याचं ऍडमिनिस्ट्रेशन करणं त्याच्या किंगडमचं? सो ही टूक हेल्प विथ फ्रॉम समंतास, peasants, traders and brahmins. Okay, revenue. How king would get revenue? So revenue was collected as form of various taxes from producers. So land tax, trade tax were collected. How revenue was collected? As form of taxes from producers. Mag Vetti was a tax in form of forced labor. Kadamai was tax in form of land revenue. Vetti forced labor, Kadamai was land revenue. King used revenue. Now how did the king use this revenue unto tax? To finance his kingdom, to construct the temples, to construct the forts, to fight wars. Okay, how did he use the money? To finance his own kingdom, construction of temple, construction of forts, and to fight the wars with other kings. Prashasti. What is a Prashasti? Prashasti is written in Sanskrit by Brahmins or poets in king's courts. They were written to praise the king. It highlights the achievement and lineage of the king, and it may not be true literally always. Okay. सो व्हॉट वर द प्रशस्तीज? प्रशस्तीज वेअर जर शॉर्ट फॉर्म मध्ये म्हणजे डेफिनेशन विचारलं तर प्रशस्तीज वेअर रिटन बाय ब्राह्मणास टू प्रेज द किंग इन अँड दे वर रिटन इन संस्कृत. ओके, नोट्स मध्ये विचारलं, शॉर्ट नोट विचारलं तर असं पॉइंट्स मध्ये आन्सर लिहायचं. प्रशस्तीज आर रिटन इन संस्कृत बाय ब्राह्मण्स और पोएट्स in king's courts. They were written to praise king. They highlight the achievements and lineage of the king, and they may not be true always. Grant of lands. Now what is a grant of land? So king rewarded brahmanas with grant of lands. Okay, not just brahmana, others ना पण जास्त करून ब्राह्मणांना मिळायचे because brahman used to write the prashastis for them. Records written on copper plate in Sanskrit or Tamil. So what is the grant of land? How it was given? It was a record written on the copper plate in Sanskrit or Tamil. It contains the details of the land and how that land was to be used by the person whom it is gifted. Okay, it will give the details of the land and how it was to be used. It was so whose rights are given to the brahmana. Okay, so that was grant of land and it was authenticated by royal seal. फक्त कॉपर प्लेटवर लिहून चालेल का? नाही. सो इट वॉज ऑथेंटिकेटेड बाय द रॉयल सील. कलाना, हु वॉज कलाना? कलाना वॉज द ऑथर ऑफ अ संस्कृत पोएम. ओके. अँड कलानावरती जर शॉर्ट नोट आली तर कशी लिहायची आपण नंतर बघू. ओके. आता ट्रीपार्टाईट स्ट्रगल हा इम्पॉर्टंट क्वेश्चन आहे. ट्रीपार्टाईट म्हणजे काय? 3 पार्टी असलेला. सो दिस वॉज फाउट फॉर सिटी ऑफ कनौज इन गंगा व्हॅली. सो ट्रीपार्टाईट स्ट्रगल का होता? इट वॉज फॉर सिटी ऑफ कनौज इन गंगा व्हॅली. दिस वॉज फाउट बिटवीन गुर्जरा प्रतिहारा, राष्ट्रकुटा अँड पाला डायनेस्टीज. कोणाकोणामध्ये हे भांडण केलं गेलं ट्रीपार्टाईट स्ट्रगलचं? गुर्जरा प्रतिहारा, राष्ट्रकुटा अँड पाला डायनेस्टीज. 3 parties involved in long drawn conflict, okay, over Kanauj. Nanta Chauhanas rule over Delhi and Ajmer. Then they try to spread over east and west. Cholas वरती short note आली तर Chola kingdom was founded by Vijayalaya Chola. Cholas was founded by Vijayalaya Chola. This was expanded further by Raja I and Rajendra I. They had strong army and navy. They had very efficient revenue system. They had efficient administration. They built marvelous temples and bronze statue. They developed efficient agriculture and irrigation system. Villages had self-government through the Sabhas, Ur and Nagaram in Chola dynasty. Agriculture became a backbone as they improved irrigation to tank, canals, wells. Land became fertile. Trade also flourished in Chola kingdom. Okay. सो काय काय चोला किंगडमचे पॉइंट्स आहेत? ते सगळे पॉइंट्स आहेत चोला किंगडमचे. फाउंडेड बाय विजयालया चोला, एक्सपांडेड बाय राजा वन, राजेंद्र वन. They had strong army and navy, had very efficient revenue system, efficient administration, built marvelous temples and bronze statues, developed efficient agriculture and irrigation. Villages had self-governed governance through sabhas, ur and nagaram. Agriculture become backbone as they improved irrigation through tank, canals, wells. Land become fertile. Trade also flourished in their kingdom. मग टेम्पल्स वरती जर शॉर्ट नोट मारलं तर चोलास बिल्ड मार्वलस टेम्पल्स. Temples were given land by kings. Produce of these lands went to maintain people dependent on the temple. Settlement of priests, garland maker, cooks, musicians, dancers, sweepers were formed around the temples. Temples were not just places of worship, temples were centers of economic, social and cultural life. ओके. सो टेम्पल वरती काय शॉर्ट नोट येऊ शकते की चोलाज बिल्ट मार्वलस टेम्पल्स. मग एक्झाम्पल म्हणून विचारू शकतात तर तंजावरच्या टेम्पलचं एक्झाम्पल द्यायचं. टेम्पल वर गिवन lands by king. Produce of this land went to maintain the people who were dependent on the temple. Settlement of priests, garland maker, sweeper, cooks, musicians, dancers build their houses around the or build the settlements around the temple. Temples were places of worship. Temples were centers of economic, culture and social life. Chola's bronze images are considered as the finest in the world. What is Ur? Ur is a settlement of peasants in Chola dynasty. What is Ur? Ur, a settlement of peasants in Chola dynasty was called as a Ur. What is a Nadu? Group of Urs forming larger settlement. Okay. Ur म्हणजे एक छोटंसं गाव. Nadu means group of Urs forming larger settlement is called as a Nadu. What is a Muvenda Velan? Velan or peasant serving the king is called as a Muvenda Velan. Ariyar means chief. ना जे लँड द्यायचे त्यांना त्या लँडची नावं कशी होती तर वेलन वगाई म्हटलं तर लँड गिवन टू नॉन ब्राह्मण. वेलान वगाई. ब्रह्मदया ह्याच्यावर नोट विचारतील. ब्रह्मदया लँड ऑफ ब्राह्मण्स. शाळा भोगा लँड गिवन टू स्कूल्स. देवेदाना मीन्स लँड गिवन फॉर टेम्पल्स. अँड पल्ली चंदनम वॉज लँड गिवन फॉर जेन्स. हे एवढं काही इम्पॉर्टंट नाहीये पण जस्ट जोड्या लावामध्ये वगैरे येऊ शकतं. ओके. ब्रह्मदया. So what is a Brahmadaya? Brahmadaya land grants given to Brahmins is called as a Brahmadaya. Large number of settlement formed in Kaveri Valley and in South India. So because Brahmins were given land, so they formed large number of settlement in the Kaveri Valley and South India. Sabha was assembly of prominent Brahmana. Okay, so these Brahmadayas were governed by Sabha. and the Sabha was assembly of prominent Brahmana. They had efficient administration. Decisions recorded on stone wall inscription of stone wall of temple through inscription. Sabha looked after irrigation, garden, temples. Okay, so what all things Sabha do? Sabha do all these things. Nagaram means association of traders is called as a Nagaram. Mata, who could be a member of the Sabha? So all the Brahmins who own land, who give revenue, have their own home, who are between 35 to 70 years of age, they who have a knowledge of Vedas, who were well versed in the administrative matters, were honest, were not member of any committee in last 3 years, and who does not submit his or his relative account cannot contest election. So who were eligible to contest the election? So all the Brahmanas who had the following conditions, or who made the following conditions, were eligible for eligible to be the member of Sabha. Now who own land, who have their own home, 35 to 70 years age, who have knowledge of Vedas, well versed in administrative matter, are honest, were not member of any committee in last 3 years. But if they have not submitted his and his relatives account, they were not eligible for the elections. Okay, so हे just short points आहेत या चॅप्टरचे, सो दॅट हा चॅप्टर लक्षात राहण्यासाठी. अगेन आय से हिस्ट्रीचे जे सगळे चॅप्टर आहेत ते क्लिष्ट आहेत, बरीचशी नावं लक्षात ठेवायला कठीण आहे. सो हे रिपिटेशनने आणि ऑब्जेक्टिव्ह क्वेश्चन आन्सर जास्तीत जास्त सॉल्व्ह केल्याने आपल्या लक्षात राहू शकतात. तुम्हाला आमचं व्हिडिओज आवडत असतील, तुमच्या अभ्यासात त्याने मदत होत असेल, तर आमच्या चॅनलला लाईक, सबस्क्राईब, शेअर नक्की करा.